I almost ruined my life because I did not have the ability to say no. But everything changed on September 13th, 2025. Before we dive into exactly what happened on that date, first we have to see why it is so critically important to learn how to say no. If you are anything like I used to be, you might think that always saying yes makes you a good person. You might think it makes you kind, reliable, and helpful. But let me tell you the brutal truth right out of the gate. It does not make you a good person. It makes you a target. You a shadow of yourself, living a life that someone else designed. When you lose the ability to say no, you trade your authenticity for approval, and that trade will bankrupt you across every single area of your existence. Let us look at what your social life looks like when you lose the power to say no. In a social context, the inability to say no translates directly into chronic people pleasing. You become a social chameleon, shifting your preferences, your time, and your values just to keep the peace and make sure nobody is upset with you. But the most dangerous part of this is not just a packed schedule. It is that you completely lose your character. When you say yes to everyone around you, you slowly begin to adopt their opinions, accept their values, and bend to their expectations just to fit in. At some point, you completely forget who you are because you are living entirely in other people's beliefs. Your genuine identity gets erased, and you become an actor in your own life, playing a script written by everyone else except you. The moment you read it, a heavy knot forms in your stomach. You desperately want to pass, but an overwhelming wave of guilt and anxiety paralyzes you. You think if I say no, they will think I am boring or get angry at me. So what do? You ignore your own needs and type out, "Yeah, definitely. Cannot wait." You force yourself to go, putting on a fake smile for hours. You are not actually present. You are just a shell of a person wrapped in a social costume, breeding a dark sense of internal resentment. When you cannot say no, you also become the default dumping ground for everyone else's inconvenient tasks. You become a utility to the people around you, helping them move on your only day off, or listening to toxic venting for hours, rather than a genuine friend. The financial damage of being unable to say no happens silently through 1,000 tiny cuts that eventually empty your bank account. Financial ruin for a chronic pleaser is built entirely on a foundation of social compliance. Imagine you have set a strict budget to pay off debt or save for a major life milestone. One afternoon at the office, a group of coworkers walks over to your desk. They are going out to a trendy, highly overpriced restaurant for lunch, and they turn to you and say, "Hey, you are coming with us, right?" You have a perfectly healthy, delicious meal prep container sitting right there in your bag. Going to this restaurant will easily wipe out your entire food budget for the week, but the social pressure feels like a physical weight. You do not want to look like the cheap coworker or miss out on office bonding. Instead of standing firm and saying you brought your lunch, you smile, hide your lunchbox, and walk out the door with them. This pattern repeats constantly. It is saying yes to splitting expensive bills evenly when you only ordered water, putting a destination bachelor party on a high-interest credit card because you are too terrified to state your financial limits, or lending money to an irresponsible friend knowing you will never see it again. When you cannot say no, your money is no longer a tool to build your own security. It is a resource you use to buy brief moments of social comfort and avoid awkward conversations. When you say yes to everyone else's demands, what you are actually doing is saying a definitive, damaging no to your own well-being. Mentally, living as a perpetual yes person places your nervous system into a chronic state of fight or flight. Because your schedule is packed tight with tasks you never truly wanted to agree to, your brain experiences severe cognitive overload. Looking at a calendar where 80% of your time belongs to someone else breeds deep-seated anxiety, chronic burnout, and a heavy feeling of depression. You lose your passion because you are too busy maintaining everyone else's universe. This mental stress actively destroys your physical biology. To finish a project you took on for a colleague who took advantage of your kindness, you stay up until 2 in the morning. Your sleep quality plummets. Because you are constantly rushing, you do not have the time to cook nutritious food, so you rely on fast food and caffeine just to survive. You skip your scheduled workouts because your afternoon was completely hijacked by someone else's urgent crisis. Over time, your immune system degrades. You find yourself constantly battling mysterious headaches, chronic muscle tension, digestive issues, and an unrelenting fatigue. Your body is quite literally screaming at you to stop. It is trying to say no on your behalf because you refuse to say it yourself. Saying no is a muscle. If you have not used it in years, it is going to be weak, atrophied, and painful to flex at first. To fix this, you need a practical, step-by-step system to build that muscle without breaking down from guilt. Step 1. Buy yourself time. The 24-hour buffer. The single biggest mistake people pleasers make is answering immediately. When someone approaches you with a request, your brain defaults to a quick, panicked yes just to end the immediate tension. You need to create a buffer. From this day forward, your mandatory response to any request must be, "Let me check my schedule and get back to you." This completely removes the face-to-face pressure and gives you the space to evaluate your energy levels calmly. Step 2. Use the soft start, hard boundary formula. Saying no does not require being mean, and you do not owe anyone a long list of excuses. Excuses are simply an invitation for the other person to negotiate with you. Instead, validate the relationship first, then state a clear, unnegotiable boundary. "Thank you so much for thinking of me, but I do not have the capacity to take on any new commitments right now." It is polite, clean, and leaves absolutely zero room for negotiation. Step 3. Practice low-stakes rejection. Start small in low-stakes environments with strangers where there are zero personal consequences. Say no thank you to the retail cashier offering a store rewards card. Say no to the upsell at the coffee shop. Get comfortable with the brief, minor friction of a polite refusal. Once you realize the world does not collapse when you say no to a stranger, it becomes infinitely easier to say it to a coworker or a friend. When you finally start holding your boundaries, your social life undergoes a radical transformation. Before, your social life was defined by quantity over quality. You were surrounded by people yet profoundly lonely because you were living under the weight of other people's beliefs, completely losing your own character and identity in the process. You were treated as an afterthought or a convenience because everyone knew you would always say yes. After, the dynamic shifts completely. When you start saying no to things that do not align with your true desires, the parasites and takers who were only using you for favors naturally drift away. Do not mourn their departure. Celebrate it. The people who truly value you for who you are will stay. Your social circle will become smaller, but it will become infinitely deeper. You stop living in their beliefs and finally reclaim your own character. When you do say yes, you show up as your full, vibrant, engaged self, transforming from a convenient doormat into a deeply respected person. The shift in your financial life when you reclaim the power of no is immediate and measurable. Before, your bank account was a leaky bucket, continuously draining cash through minor social pressures and unspoken guilt. You spent money you did not have on expensive dinners you did not enjoy, and trips that caused you intense financial anxiety just to maintain a fragile image of conformity. After, you become the absolute ruler of your financial domain. When a coworker invites you to an overpriced lunch that does not fit your budget, you calmly decline. The brief moment of awkwardness passes instantly, replaced by an unshakable sense of peace when you check your balance at the end of the month. Suddenly, you have the surplus capital required to fund your actual dreams, paying off debt, building an emergency fund, and investing in your future. Saying no grants you total sovereignty over your hard-earned money. The most profound transformation occurs within your own body and mind. The health revolution that takes place when you stop overcommitting is a total restoration of your life force. Before, you were a walking manifestation of chronic tension. Your mind was a never-ending storm of deadlines, lingering guilt, and profound decision fatigue. You woke up exhausted, pushed your way through the day using caffeine, and went to bed with a racing mind that refused to shut down. After, your entire nervous system undergoes a deep necessary reset. Because you have cleared out unwanted obligations, your calendar opens up, giving you large blocks of free time to rest without a single shred of guilt. Your mind becomes quiet, and the background static of anxiety fades away. Physically, your cortisol levels drop back to normal. Your sleep stabilizes, your natural energy returns, and chronic stress symptoms melt away. You are no longer just reacting to life trying to survive, you are actively thriving. Which brings us right back to where we started. September 13th, 2025. What actually happened on that specific date? Why was that the exact day that everything changed for me? I'm going to tell you the absolute truth. Nothing external happened on that day. There was no cataclysmic accident, no dramatic intervention, and no sudden financial disaster. September 13th, 2025 was simply a Tuesday. I woke up early in the morning, walked into the bathroom, and looked at my reflection in the mirror. I looked at a face that was visibly exhausted and aged beyond its years. I looked at my digital calendar for the week ahead and saw that it was completely hijacked by commitments I absolutely hated for people who did not truly care about me. My bank account was draining, my health was actively failing, and I felt entirely hollow. And in that quiet morning, I had a sudden, terrifyingly clear realization. If I do not start saying no to others, I am going to completely run out of yes for my own life. That was the day I made a non-negotiable non-negotiable vow to myself to change. I decided right then and there that my time, my energy, my mental peace, and my financial future were precious assets to be fiercely protected, not cheap commodities to be given away for free to anyone who happened to ask. You do not have to wait for a specific date on a calendar to make this choice for yourself. You do not have to wait until you hit absolute rock bottom, until your health completely collapses, or until your savings account hits zero. You can choose your own turning point right now, in this exact moment. The next time you are faced with a choice that compromises your peace, your goals, or your well-being, remember the immense power that lies within that simple two-letter word. Take a deep breath, buy yourself some time, and remember that protecting your own life is not selfish. It is an absolute necessity. Start saying no to what drains you, so you can finally start saying yes to what fulfills you.